Welcome to the Creative Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lopez Jr. Follow us on Twitter at CreativeCoach47 and on YouTube at Creative Coaching Podcast. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and thanks a bunch for listening. Welcome to the podcast, Coach.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike.
No, I'm glad you're taking the time, making the time to be with us in your new position, in your new role as the head coach of the women's basketball team at University of Incarnate Word here in my city. And so I definitely had to get you on and bring you on and spotlight you and feature you, which I know a lot of people in the business know you. So it's just they're going to hear something that they've probably already heard, but for those that haven't, they're going to get to meet you. And so here again, appreciate you being on.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to speak with you tonight.
So my first question, Coach, is for every coach that comes on is, how are you introduced to the game of basketball coming out of Bay City, Texas?
My introduction, my mom I was just a kid with too much energy. So my mom put me in everything. I started off in like pageants and charm schools. And then it was like ballet, tap, and jazz. And then I was in like the choir. She literally tried everything. And then I tried softball. Yeah. And from softball, it went to basketball. And so my dad and a couple of the guys who worked with him at STP down at near Bay City, they started just coaching youth basketball. And I went out for basketball. It was the most natural thing I'd ever done. It's incredible because I didn't have to like learn rules. Like I never double dribbled or traveled. It just came really naturally to me. And so started young, 3rd, 4th grade with my mom just trying to get me out of the way. And the rest is pretty much history.
That's great, especially when you can associate your experience with the game to start off with your parents, right?
Yeah.
And your dad in particular, during your presser, you talked about how your dad played such a big role in that, and how without kind of his guidance in that, you wouldn't be where you're at as far as with the game.
Yeah.
And so that's just to associate what you love to do with family and things of that nature just gives it that much more of a oomph and a why.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool, Coach. Now, what was your experience with those who coached you? Because you played for a really good coach in college. And then high school coming up. What was that experience for you being coached?
So being from a small town, like my first coach was a guy that just worked at STP. Like he was a volunteer that worked at the plant. But because I knew he was a volunteer and he was the person who opened the gym for me, I had a very high amount of respect for coaches just because my first one was strictly volunteer. I never forget that. From there, my middle school, Bay City's small. So I knew who my middle school coach was going to be when I was in elementary school. And then I knew who my high school coach was going to be when I was in middle school. And so that's a really cool thing about being from a small town. But they were people in a small community who just cared about people. They cared about basketball. But from a small town, like, you have to do the things the right way because they'll just call your mom and tell on you. And so I had those extra eyes on me at all times. Yeah. And I've just always had, I was playing anything. I played softball for no reason in high school. I was awful. I tried volleyball. I was awful. I was just wasting their time. But I showed up and I was pretty athletic. And then eventually my parents told me to cut it to basketball. And I did that about my sophomore, junior year in high school. But then, going to college, coaching is different. These are people who coach for a living. In high school, you're teaching and then you also coach for a stipend. In college, we coach for a living. And one of my college coaches at the time, Jennifer Roberts, she is now on staff at LSU. She randomly told me one day, like, hey, you're going to be a college coach when you're done here. And I wasn't really listening because who knows what you do, right? Yeah. But I'll never forget that. The other person who coached me, who told me that I had a different interest in the game of basketball, honestly, was Karen Aston. Karen Aston coached me at Baylor for 1 year. Wow. And while she was there, I was like, so interested in stats, in basketball stats. I knew what everyone averaged. I knew what percentage they shot from the field. I knew how many games people won and lost. And she thought that I would obsess over it. And so she knew early on as well, like, yeah, you'll probably be a coach because you're in coach's business. Like that stuff players don't really worry about, but you know it. And so those are some of the people, of course, Coach Mulkey, right? But those are just some of the assistant coaches I had along the way who kind of planted that seed for me.
What a cool thing for them to become now. Kind of, you're at that peer level now.
Yeah.
And you got a taste of that at Oklahoma State with Coach JC, and kind of that close enough to that seat Now
Hmm.
you're on that seat,
Yeah.
and these people are now your contemporaries,
Yeah.
which you still have that reverence towards them, but at the same time, it's like here you are now.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
it's a
Uh,
culmination of everything that they inputted into you as well.
yeah. That's exactly what it is. A little bit of the people who coach me, and then a little bit of the people that I've worked with and worked for.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, Coach, I want to ask you. So then, what would you say, or who or what influenced you to go into the profession?
Probably Jennifer Roberts. And then, of course, like I got my starting coaching because Richard Barron, who was also a coach at Baylor. So we're talking about Jennifer Roberts, who was an assistant, Karen Aston, who was an assistant, and then Richard Barron was an assistant for me at Baylor. He took the head coaching job at Maine. And then
Okay.
he randomly called me one day and he said, "Hey, do you want to?" I was still playing professionally overseas. And he
Yeah.
reached out and he said, "Hey, are you ready to coach? Like, would you come coach with me at Maine?" And I don't know why, for some reason, I was like, you know what? Europe's really far from Texas. Sure. Now Maine is about as far, right? But
Right. Basically.
he's a big reason. It's a lot of the people who coached me.
Wow, that's fantastic. You talk about your time in Maine. I've had some friends who've coached out there, and man, it's a whole other world.
Yeah.
Completely. I mean, you talk about not being like Texas. Yeah, it might as well be Europe.
Yeah.
A different ride altogether for you. Kind of seeing where your stops have been here and there.
Yeah.
L.A., Maine,
Yeah.
Kansas. I mean, you just places where when people think about it, the life of a college coach, because at some point you're gonna have to move on.
Yeah.
It's not this thing of, well, you get to one spot and you're like, I'm gonna stay. You get to LA and you're like, I'm gonna stay here forever. Right, Loyola Marymount's right there. You can see the
Yeah.
Pacific Ocean. Like, man, I love it. Stay
Yeah.
here for 30 years. Like, no, I'll be somewhere else in the next
Yeah.
X
Yeah.
amount of years. So really cool to get that perspective of your career too,
Hmm.
and how diverse it's been.
Yeah.
Now, Coach, what was your like welcome to coaching moment when you first like jumped into it and you were like, man, I'm not a player anymore, scoring 30, 40 points a game in Europe. Now I have to be like on it. And what would you say one of those moments was for you?
You know what? That year didn't come from me until probably halfway through my career. I'll never forget it.
Wow.
I worked for Brandon Schneider at Kansas,
Okay.
and then I took the job at Oklahoma State, and we played against Kansas. And I'll never forget. It was like every single thing we did, he read
Mhm.
it and then he countered, and there was nothing we could do about it. Like we would sub, and then he would just pick on someone, and
Yeah.
then we would sub to save that person, and then he would move someone to the other side of the floor, and then pick on that matchup. And that's when I was like, "Oh, okay." Like everyone else is just kind of motivating and cheering and fussing, and he is like coaching, like he's playing
Yeah.
chess with these pieces. And so,
Yeah.
not all coaching looks like that, but that was the day that I said, okay, like I need to really invest in how to move pieces and how to manipulate the game of basketball when
Yeah.
and if I ever need to, because that's exactly what he did to us that game.
Yeah. That's amazing stuff because like you said, he's playing chess, you're playing checkers basically. And that's and in that scenario, you felt like
Yeah.
not that that was completely the case, but you learned there's a different level to it.
Yeah.
It's like people say there's levels to this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
It was
so it is.
definitely
So
levels.
it is in coaching and strategy and all those things.
Yeah.
So that's really really cool stuff. Yeah, to learn that coming to a reality of like I can do this too.
Yeah.
Okay,
For
it's
sure.
another aspect. So that's a great, Coach. Now you talked a lot about having an impact in the game and with your players, getting that from your mother and the community and things of that nature, right? And
Hmm.
you wanting to be that coach who wants to be transformational, right?
Yeah.
So your career has been probably built around that, right?
Yeah.
So knowing that that's part of who you are already, what percentage of coaching do you say is transactional?
Man, these days you really have to fight because with revenue sharing and the transfer portal, like things have changed a lot.
Yeah,
And so for me, I try to make sure I'm as transformational as possible while making sure like I'm competitive with the transactions.
yeah,
But anytime there's a transaction that takes place, I make sure the player knows, as someone who has to hold you accountable, you have to earn this every day.
yeah,
And so that's the lesson I teach. Like I have this job and I'm honored to be here, and there's excitement. At the same time, I know that I'm being compensated because I'm supposed to help win games.
yeah,
And so there is a transaction, but there is also, and then through that, I get to help transform the lives of players. And so it all kind
Yeah.
of works together. I mean, right now it's inevitable that, you may get a transfer who has 1 year. Well,
Yeah.
you hope to transform their lives in the less than 365 days you have them, right? They're on your campus in July, they're off your campus by May.
Yeah.
And so you do all you can to
Yeah.
be as transformational as possible in that window. And some kids don't want that. Some kids it's strictly business for, because they've already established those relationships wherever they were in those first 3 years. And so
Yeah.
you just have to find your spots. But at the end of the day, you have to be yourself. And
Yeah.
when you're being yourself, your most genuine self, finding the good in others, then hopefully they can get something out of that transaction.
I like how you put that, because I think a lot of times in the coaching profession, we just think about ourselves and how we're viewing the transformational piece, right?
Yeah.
And it's what the player allows us to be for
Hmm.
them,
Yeah.
as opposed to we think, well, we're so transformational that anybody that walks through that door is just going to be so in love with who we are.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a great way to look at it as well.
Yeah.
It's just another perspective. So I appreciate you sharing that, because that is super important. It's like you said, the timeline now for a transfer through that portal, it's so thin, and
Yeah.
so you want to make sure that they don't just feel used either.
Yeah.
Even though they may be just using you as a means to an end, which that's
Yeah.
okay. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a place for that, but
Yeah.
you definitely want to leave your mark somehow, some way.
For sure.
It's not just four, it's 40, right? They say something to
Yeah.
that effect.
Yeah.
So now, Coach, I would ask you, because you've had success playing the game, coaching. You've been to the tournaments, more than one tournament throughout
Yeah.
your career. What do you consider success?
Um, Success in terms of basketball is winning games, right?
Yeah.
I've researched that
Yeah.
the team that wins the conference regular season in the Southland hasn't been the team who's won the conference tournament.
Yeah.
Um, I do believe that there is power in winning your conference. And
Yeah.
so that's confusing to me because I want to be a regular season champion.
Yeah.
There is strength in being good in 5 days, but there is a lot more strength and camaraderie and being good in 6 months of
Right.
a season. And so that's a little bit different. But I think it's winning. I mean, this team went to the tournament a few years ago, didn't win the conference, but in Southland fashion, won the conference tournament. And so they took the
Yeah.
team to the tournament. But I just want to win championships. I want to win games and winning days. We had an hour practice today. Did we win today? Because you win days, you stack days,
Yep.
you win games, you stack games, you win championships. And that's just kind of how it goes. And so that's the goal. The goal is always to win. And it's win on the court, it's win in the classroom, it's win in life, it's win in relationships. Like it's bigger than just winning games. I feel like if all that other stuff goes together,
Yeah.
then you can win championships. But most of the time, like if you're not winning in those other areas, you're not winning on the court either.
Yeah. No, it's kind of a holistic approach, if you will,
Mhm.
and kind
Yep.
of taking the view of that it's all kind of reciprocal.
Yeah.
What you're giving one, you're getting out of the other, and they kind of go hand in hand. They align, so to speak. Your
Yeah.
character, like you said earlier, about being who you are.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's got to be their true self, authentic self. And if
Mhm.
that's not good, then yeah, you're gonna have a lot of not good in throughout whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So
For
yeah, I
sure.
like how you put that, Coach. That was great stuff. Now I want to ask you, because here in San Antonio, we love basketball. The fan base is great there at UIW. So what can the fan base, in particular in the city of San Antonio, expect from your program, Coach?
They can expect really good people.
Right.
I'm doing my best to recruit the best players I can to come here and share a part of this great institution in this great location. Like San Antonio is like an exceptional place to be.
Yeah.
So the people matter first. I want them to be able to meet my student athletes off the court and think like, man, like that's a really good kid. I
Yeah.
brought a kid on campus a few days ago from the transfer portal, and I got an email back from someone in the academic department, and they said, "Wow, coach, what a great family! Keep bringing good people like that to campus. They'll make us all better." And that's
Yeah.
my goal, right? When we're on the court, we'll play hard. I think we are our kids are going to school for free. They're getting
Yeah.
compensated to play basketball. So at the very least, I'm not saying you have to win every game. You have to show up and give maximum effort every game. So we will play hard. We'll play fast. We'll play together. Those are the three things you'll see from us.
That's fantastic, Coach. I like that the component of just being an asset to the campus,
Hmm.
not just to your team,
Yeah.
because you spoke about that in your about you being an asset to those who are going to be around the program,
Hmm.
your players serving people. And I think if that becomes something that you can multiply into your players as a whole, man, what kind of impact you can have in that community and then beyond that.
Yeah.
Just a great idea of being, when you have have people in higher academia talking about keep bringing these kids in,
Yeah.
that says a lot about what you're doing and the
Yeah.
quality of player that you're recruiting. So that's fantastic, Coach. Now, I want to ask you about this opportunity, Coach. You were an associate head coach last year at Oklahoma State,
Hmm.
but here you are now, moved
Yeah.
over that seat. It's a big deal. You knew you were going to get to this point at some point. So, what does this opportunity mean for you and your family, Coach?
It means everything. I mean, I wanted the right opportunity, and I was very picky about the opportunity that I would take because it had to make sense for myself. It had to make sense for my family. It had to be something that I believed in. It had to be a group of people who also believed in me. And
Yeah,
so now I wake up every day to prove that I belong here. I'm
yeah,
still that person. So right now, there was a situation where you take a new job. It takes a little bit to get your keys and get you signed on. You have to go to HR, do the whole deal. And
yeah,
so I had some people. I was like, "Hey guys, I need keys," and everyone was like, "Well, Jazz, it's fine. We'll have the custodians who open the building. We'll have them unlock your office for you." And then that went on a day, and then I had to go back and say like, "Hey guys, I don't mean to be annoying. I know you guys are working on it, but I really need to borrow someone's keys." And they were like, "Well, Jazz, the custodians are unlocking your office every day." I said, "Guys, I'm beating the custodians here. Like
yeah,
but right, and so I still have that mentality. The
yeah,
first in and the last out. I've been
yeah,
at work all day. I came home right here at 7:30 in order to hop on here with you. But like,
yeah,
I want to prove Richard right.
yeah,
I want to make administration look really good, and choosing me to lead this program. And so that's something that motivates me to do
yeah,
this every single day because they also took a risk on me.
yeah. That ownership component, then
Yeah,
that's really something that's big that I'm not sure a lot of coaches consider in the
yeah,
process. Is they're not only are they compensating you, but they're putting their name on the line.
yeah,
When they bring you on, it's like that's a character
mhm,
either plus or minus. You know,
absolutely.
it's plus aura points or minus aura points, right, or
Mhm.
whatever, right? So
Yep.
like, it's kind of one of those things where everybody's invested
Yeah.
in, like you said, to prove them right for hiring you. That's amazing, Coach. I can appreciate that, having been an athletic director in the past. To have a coach that thinks that way is really an asset and wonderful. Now, Coach, I want to ask about mentorship. How important is mentorship to you throughout your career?
I talk a lot about like development, and every player in the portal is. I want to be developed. I want to be. I need somewhere with great player development. That's probably what we hear most often. For
Yeah,
me, mentorship is person development. I
yeah,
want to be a mentor to help develop young people, and I'm a mentor by what I say. I'm also a mentor by what I do, and so if I want my players to work hard, an example of mentorship is me working hard and them knowing that I do that. And that's me fighting for them to get what they've earned, not give them things because they think they want them, but give them what they earn, and just
yeah,
walking in my truth and allowing them to see me do that, and just trying to echo what hard work, dedication, just having morals and principles, what that looks like every day, and I try to walk that. And so we have meetings, we talk about life, we talk as a team, we talk as individuals. I've probably zoomed, called, text, met with every single player individually in the 14 days I've had this job. And then we've also had a team meeting where we're reading a book, and that was one of like that was transformational. Just
yeah.
These kids don't know me. I don't know these kids, but we sat in a room together. We read a book in preparation for this meeting, and we poured our hearts out to each other, right? And so that's why it's cool. Like that's what mentorship looks like to me. It's
Yeah.
person development.
Yeah, no, you talked about answering the call, that you were really intentional about answering this calling that you have, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of that impactfulness, along with that mentorship, is
Hmm.
like, because then you said, I'll also answer a call if you call me.
Yeah.
I think that's super important because a lot of kids or young people, I should say, feel like they're just, I don't know, they're forgotten, they're not
Hmm.
recognized in
Yeah.
general society.
Yeah.
And here you are coming and saying, I don't know you, you don't know me, but just know that I'm here for you.
Yeah.
So
For
that's
sure.
great stuff. That speaks volumes. It preaches probably more than if you sat there and just lectured them for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And so that's great stuff, Coach. Now, Coach, throughout your career, what have you learned about yourself? Because I know we're always teaching. I mean, because that's what coaches do. We teach
Yeah.
constantly. But what have you learned about yourself throughout your career?
I learned, yeah, as a studier of, as a student, I guess, as a student of leadership, in every sport, every facet, like in music, in sports, in politics, I study leaders, and I've learned, and I used to tell myself like, hey, Chris Daly is one of my favorite assistant coaches, and Jennifer Roberts is one of my favorite assistant coaches. So as an assistant coach or as an associate head coach, I want to be like those people. Like
Yeah.
I look at what they wear, I look at what they do, I look at their demeanors on the bench. And then, I started thinking about being a head coach, and I said, oh, okay, Don's cool. I love Yolette. Coach Mulkey's bringing a different energy. JC's bringing a different energy. Brandon's bringing a different energy. Just all the people I work for. And then I started to try to figure out who I wanted to be in the process. And I finally took a step back and I said, I just have to be myself. Like,
Yeah.
I have to be my authentic self because JC already has a group of kids who can experience JC.
Yeah.
These kids need to make sure that they experience me through the process. And so, what I've learned is just to take a step back. I don't have to be perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. Like, that's a part of growth. I just have to embrace those things and just be myself. Like, being myself is enough. It's not for everyone. We spoke about that earlier,
Yeah.
and with kids with the transfer portal, but the people that it's for, the people I was placed here to impact,
Yeah.
it'll happen for them at the right time.
Right. There's that idea of like not so much fate, but kind of like that, where it's like, no, who I am at this time in this
Yeah.
moment is for you, and
Hmm.
who you are is for me,
Yeah.
and it mixes well. And
Yeah.
I think that's because you are, yeah. I mean, we all want to. I tell people all the time is like, hey, everybody sees Coach Popovich here in San Antonio, and they think when I get into coaching, I can't wait to
Yeah.
do that. I can't wait to stomp on the floor and wear a suit. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you can't go into a presser just blowing off at reporters and acting
Yeah.
like you've won championships. Like you got to be who you really are.
Yeah.
And then at some point, if you develop that, I guess, then good for you. But for the
Yeah.
most part, I think we've all really got to, like you said, your true authentic self, be that, and that's good enough. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that because it's more of like it's great for your mental health and your self
Hmm.
talk to
Yeah.
really find that because leaders uh, sometimes are measured by those who follow, right?
Hmm.
But sometimes leaders are viewed from the optic of how confident are you about what you're doing,
Yeah.
and are you sure of yourself? And when
Hmm.
you're comfortable in your skin, you definitely are sure of yourself. So that's great, Coach. I really like that. Now, your support system, Coach. I know we as coaches we go through long seasons. For yourself now, coming in, and jumping through the portal,
Yeah.
bringing players on, the ups and downs of that. You're bored. Sometimes you get one. Sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Uh, how's your support system been there for you, and how important has it been?
The really good thing about my family support system is they have no idea what's happening with basketball.
Cool.
So when I call, it's how are you?
Yeah.
It's not about the sport. It's how are your players and how are you? And they just mean physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Yeah.
When it comes to basketball questions, administration has been really helpful. I mean, I've spoken to football, I've spoken to softball, I've spoken to volleyball, just people in the department who've been really helpful, helping me expedite the process at UIW. And then I have colleagues in the sport, coaches that I've worked for that are still coaching. I have other head coaches that just reach out to me and just say, hey, make sure you don't do this or make sure you do this by this time.
Yeah.
And just having that network of people who are here to help and support. And then I have some really good assistants in the works. They'll be on within a month, and just them, they're not even hired yet, but just the amount of work that they're putting in behind the scenes with finding kids in the portal. And some of them are doing work for two institutions right now because they're not
Yeah.
quite done with their last jobs, but they're still helping me with this job. I talk to someone from Oklahoma State every day.
Yeah.
And it's, hey, Jazz, this kid maybe isn't good enough for our level, but I think you should take a look. And I'm doing the same for them. Like, hey, I know you need this. Remember, we were recruiting this kid a couple years ago. She's in the portal right now. And that's just kind of how it works. And so
Yeah.
just being connected and knowing people help you in the business, being willing and open to meeting people within the department helps you at your institution. And then your family, your friends, those are the people who just hold you down to make sure you're standing up in real life, like outside
Yeah.
of basketball.
Yeah. It's good to have help with that first 90 days, coach, because
Yeah.
that's kind of what everybody looks to you for. Like, what's your first
Yeah.
90 days gonna look like?
Yeah.
Man, if the more help, the better, because everybody in the business knows each other at this point.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
there's no way to get around not being helpful,
Hmm.
and not everybody's going to be competing for the same thing at
Yeah.
that point. So it really help. It's good to have that that sorority, fraternity, however you want to look at it,
Yeah.
of support there. That's great. Now, I want to ask you about how important mental health and emotional health is for coaches, because you've seen a good number of staffs that you've been on. How
Hmm.
important do you think it is for you and your staff moving forward to have good mental health and emotional health?
I think that it's really important. Basketball is exhausting. Like being in this business is exhausting. That's just what it is. You can end up like I've been at it for days straight. My family's still in Oklahoma getting the house packed up. So, that's a discomfort for me. I'm
Yeah,
working hours on end. There are days I accidentally skip lunch and don't eat. Like it's really important that when you have time, you have to make time to take a
yeah,
step back. Because just think about being hangry, right? People are hangry every day, but I'm
yeah,
accidentally missing meals. And
yeah,
so then I'm looking up and it's 7 o'clock and I'm irritated. And it's like, okay, let's take a deep breath. Like you haven't
yeah,
eaten since 9 a.m. And so you have to take care of yourself first or you're no good for anyone. The
yeah,
good thing is we're working out. And so that's a boost of energy, right? When you get in the gym with the players and the energy is contagious. But then when that's over, like things are overwhelming, they're frustrating. You're trying to fill the roster, you're trying to build a staff, you're trying to build a schedule, you don't know, where someone's office is on campus, just all those new things. It's really important that you just take a step back. Every once in a while, I just go on a walk outside,
yeah,
leave my phone behind and just go on a walk for 15 minutes because I know when I get back to it, I'll have 70 messages about people for God knows what. And so it's
mhm,
really important to disconnect
yeah,
from work because it shows if you don't.
yeah, yeah. No, it can take its toll. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, and I learned this here again from Ray. Ball isn't life
Yeah.
sometimes. Like
Yep.
it is when it is, but for the most part, when you walk away from it, disconnect,
Yep.
because there's bigger things to do. Always keeping that focus, like in the back of your mind. Yeah, your job is there, like you talked
Hmm.
about earlier, being compensated and that nature of the business. But you also got to can see the forest for the trees,
Yep.
and that helps. That helps to be better at what you do too.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's great. Now, Coach, I want to ask you your why because it's so important, and I think you're the type of person that probably goes back and revisits your why
Yeah.
often enough. So
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Coach, what is your why? Why do you do what you do?
My why is the next generation.
Wow.
I've told myself that I want to leave this world empty.
Wow.
I don't want to hoard anything. I don't want to
Yeah.
like sometimes, I'll share a play online and everyone's like, why would you share that? That's so important. Like, because why would I hoard it? Like maybe someone can use it. I hope they don't use it
Right.
against me, but why would I hoard it? Like I read a lot of
Yeah.
books and I'll share the information because maybe you don't read that book, but you can learn from this quote. Like I read a book on Monday, and there was a quote in the book that I used for a recruit on Tuesday. And the quote was, the resources aren't always the things. Sometimes your greatest resources are the people around you. And
Wow.
this player was coming to us from a Power Four institution. And so when it
Mhm.
comes to resources, maybe we don't have the same resources that Power Four institution has,
Right.
but we do have really good people. And so
Yeah.
for me, that's just an example of like not hoarding information. I'm going to share that with her because maybe it'll impact her the way it impacted me. Because when I read that, I thought about her immediately. And so for
Yeah.
me, my why is leaving empty. If there is
Yeah.
some sort of knowledge, understanding, if there's a hug, if there's a word, if there's a pair of shoes, like whatever it is, I can give. I want to make sure I leave this world empty. People say it all the time, like, what's the use in dying rich,
Yeah.
right? Like, share it, spread it.
Yeah.
And for me, that's with love, that's with impacting people, that's with information. Like, my why is just sharing myself with the world, just sharing whatever gifts I have. I
Yeah.
want to make sure I share them.
That's fantastic, Coach. That is very, very, how should I say, other aware,
Mhm.
because we're all self aware. So we think we are, right?
Yeah,
But being other aware, right?
yeah,
So, like filling yourself up, so however you do that. And I want coaches to hear this, like fill yourself up or find who fills you up and then pour it out.
yeah,
Always be full, but once you're full, pour it out
yeah.
because somebody may need it,
Hmm.
and probably more than you do. You may
Absolutely.
not know, right? That was great stuff, Coach. I feel who you are, and I'm like, man, this is gonna be good. So I better get my season tickets now. So, Coach, my last question is always about legacy because I hear again, I'm sensing where you're headed with where your life is and where it's headed. What
Yeah,
would you want to be said of you when your time with the game is all said and done?
yeah. She gave the game all she had, and she impacted my life in a positive way. And like right now, I'm still in it, right? And so
Yeah,
when you're in it, you the best recruiters are players you have already coached,
yeah,
because we said it earlier, like this game is really small.
yeah,
um, and the best recruiters, this happened to me today. I got on the phone with a recruit, and the recruit has all these big offers. And so when kids have these super big offers, I'm like, hey, I'm going to let you do that. And then once you're done with that, if you'd like to come back here, because you know what we have to offer may not be comparable when it comes to some things. Once you're done with that, if you come back here, I'll be here. But like, I'm going to let you flirt with that first. And the kid was like blowing my phone up, like, hey, coach, I'd love to talk. Like, we've been texting. I want to get on the phone. Let's do a Zoom. And so I finally talked to her today. And she said, I really wanted to talk to you because one of your players at Oklahoma State was my teammate. And so I did my background check and I called her and I asked her about you. And she knows who else is on my list, but she told me that if I had any opportunity, I need to go play for you. And so that's why I know you see all these other teams, but like, I want to talk to you. And that's who I want to be in this business. That player from Oklahoma State said that person filled me up when I was playing for her.
wow,
And if you could also get that experience, you should do it because I know how she made me feel. And so when this is all said and done, I want it to be Coach Player cared about me as a person, and Coach Player made me more confident in myself as a person.
yeah,
Period. That's it. I never want to be like every player says it, like such and such took my confidence. And sometimes those players are kind of sensitive, and so their confidence is very easy to take. Like if you miss a layup, and I'm like, hey, make layups, that takes a little bit of their confidence, right? But I don't want to be one of those players who a player makes a bad read and I attack their character or I attack their mentality. I want to make sure they know that like I still love you. We're just going to make layups.
yeah.
And that's meeting that person where they are. And so when it's over, I just want players to say she cared about me as a person. She was an absolute great mentor. And if and when I had kids, like that's the person I would want them to be around.
They may forget what you said, they may forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel, right, Coach?
Never, never.
Coach, I appreciate you so much coming on and blessing us with all this. It's been fantastic. Here again, wish you all the luck in the world. I'm here in San Antonio. You ever need anything, let me know. I'll be here to support as well. And just thanks for sharing with us because I know somebody will be impacted by what they heard today and saw today.
Thank you for having me. It's been truly my pleasure. This was like prepared really well. The questions were great, and so it's been fun to just talk through these things because it's a reminder whenever you get to get them out,
Yeah.
and remind yourself who you are and why you do it.
Yeah. Thanks again, Coach.